Nigeria's creative energy is unmatched, from the vibrant strokes of Canva to the bold sculptures that echo our heritage. At the heart of this cultural expression is the National Gallery of Arts, Nigeria's custodian of visual heritage. Now under the visionary leadership of the Director-General Ahmed Sodangi, the gallery is turning a new page. With years of experience in the investment and finance sector, Mr. Sodangi brings a fresh approach, merging culture with capital and art with opportunity.
My story is not out of the ordinary. Well, I was formerly not in the art space. I was working in the Bank of Industry. I was a project officer. I'm a relationship officer in terms of loans. I'm a development banker, so to say. So one thing that I understand very well is value and value addition. And speaking of art, art now is a global language. It is internationally recognized as a bridge builder. It is one of the instruments that keep cultures, traditions, institutions, private sector, government, art lovers, individuals together. Because one of the beauties of art is you don't need to be an artist, you don't need to know anything about art, but the moment you look at an artwork or a sculpture, it resonates on you, it tells you something, it has a different story. So based on your understanding of it, it tells you what it needs to be said. So this is the beauty of art, and this is why it is very important and impactful in our society, and this is why it has been here since, I believe, the inception of mankind. Because art and dates back prehistoric centuries. And for me, I was privileged to be handpicked by the president of this country to come and realm and handle the affairs of the National Gallery. This is part of the initiative of the Read Hope agenda, where first and foremost inclusion of youths in government, and also looking at the art space and what it entails and what it means in the 21st century. Art is not just it's not just what it used to be. Because when you look at the National Gallery, which was established in 1993, and where we are today, there is this transcendence and what has happened in the art space. We have reached a paradigm shift as far as I'm concerned. And these are times where you need to look at other opportunities in terms of when you want to talk about revamping the economy, you have to look at other sectors that are meaningful. Right now, we're talking about the Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism and the creative economy. We all know what the creative economy means on a global scale. We've seen how much it has added. We have seen what value it brings, and we have seen the amount of money and employment that it gives, particularly to young people. So I think in the wisdom of this administration, they deemed it fit for people like us to come and share our own quota with the experience we have in business and in the private sector, as well as being a development banker, to understand how we could bridge the gap between the economy. For me, when I was in the banking industry, I was a project officer, so at the same time a relationship officer. So my day-to-day function in the bank of industry was to appraise, disburse and monitor art. You see, I'm so used to the artwork, I'm talking about artworks. Monitor loans. So fast forward to what I'm doing here, I'm now an art administrator, and we look at how we could add value to the ecosystem. We look at how we could bridge the gap between the artists and how we can be artist-centric. We look at how we can now promote the artistic value of the country, and see how we can bridge the gap between artist and market, because we look at it in such a way that art now is a business. So we need to understand how we could position ourselves as artists, and also how to look at the business side of it, because most of the artists in Nigeria particularly are very talented. That goes without saying. We have a lot of talent, but at the same time we need to understand art is now in a global scale. So what can you do differently from someone that is selling art or producing art in the United States or elsewhere? Because it's the same market, and probably the same techniques used, but now how you now present it and package it to the world is where the business is. And most importantly, that is where I feel I have the most to contribute, because we need to identify the value chain. We need to know that this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and we need to capitalize off that. Thankfully, we have a lot of examples so that we know that this work is not in vain. We have global artists that have seen stardom, international recognition, that sells artwork for millions of dollars. So these are the aspirations. And for me, in the National Gallery, I have looked at who we are, what we do, and what we've been doing over the years. We have to give credit to the past administration from inception for pushing the envelope and the genre forward to where we are today. For me, I look at it in a different dynamic. I am looking at what the National Gallery means to the country and to the artist. So what we want to do is we want to reposition the National Gallery in such a way that this is the foremost institution that any artist would aspire to have his work in. We are the custodians of the national collection. These are artworks that have been bought with government funds that belong to the government. So these are assets of the federal government. We have very priceless treasures in our archives that are value, and they have value, and the value is always appreciating. So what we want to do now is to reposition the National Gallery to make it the foremost institution where every artist aspires to have his artwork in the national collection. Every artist will want to be associated with the National Gallery. Every artist will love, the dream of every artist is to be exhibited by the National Gallery. So this is a deliberate strategic repositioning that aligns perfectly with the Honorable Minister's vision and also the Renewed Hope agenda, because this is also a form of diversification of the economy. Like I said earlier, we're talking about the creative economy, and it is all-encompassing for the National Gallery.
Through strategic reforms, public-private partnerships, and tech-driven innovation, the agency is being repositioned as a catalyst for growth in Nigeria's multi-billion naira creative sector.
When we looked at who we are and what we do, I looked at the ecosystem. So there's been a gap, so to say, in terms of us fulfilling our mandate. So one of the things we looked at is what the creative economy entails, what the National Gallery is doing, and then the support with artists, because we need to look at the ecosystem first and foremost. We need to be the ones to create that enabling environment. Thankfully, this administration, in its wisdom, has for the first time created the Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism, and now the Creative Economy. So this is the first of its kind. So we now left for us to take advantage of the opportunities. But at the same time, the creative economy has been happening in Nigeria, and the government cannot really claim the efforts, because now more than ever there is a direct and deliberate attention on it. So what you can do is, because the creative economy has more or less sustained itself, grew itself to the point that it is now internationally and globally recognized. So what we need to do in terms of strategy is to see how we could partner, come up with basic incentives that the industry and the ecosystem will now accept the National Gallery and look at it as that foremost partner, because we don't own the space. So you cannot come and claim what you've not contributed to. But at the same time, what we are trying to do is to bring out soft initiatives. Most of our strategies is to see how artists can recognize the need of the National Gallery. Like I could give you an example. There's a strategy that is put in place that every artwork because a lot of artworks leave the country. A lot of artists have their markets outside the country. So one of the things we could do for them is to issue out art travel permits, which we are now is done. We need to start the sensitization process, which will happen in the coming weeks. Artists can come into the National Gallery and get an art travel permit that enables them safe and free travel and passage of their artworks all over the world. Another strategy that we could do is certification of artworks. We are talking about value here. So when you have a certified artwork from the National Gallery of Art, what that does for you, it gives you a base value of your artwork. No matter whatever cost or that is attached to that artwork, it now gives it a base value. What that does, it tells you that your artwork cannot go below this. These are some of the value addition strategies that we've looked into, and also documentation of our artists and artworks, because we are now creating a database where we want to now digitally get a digital archiving from the national collection, so that we can now segue into documentation of artists and the artworks. So it makes it easier if you have a database of the artists. We've been doing that in the past. What we're doing now is just to digitize the system and add value to it. So what will now happen is most of these artworks will carry a QR code that wherever it goes in the world, you can now look at it and know that you've established the provenance, that this is coming from Nigeria, this is the artist, this is the year of production. So all these little incentives is what will now entice artists to say, oh, actually I need this. Oh, I have an exhibition somewhere in whatever country. I need maybe the National Gallery to give me an endorsement letter or appreciation letter or letter of introduction, because we're government, so our letterhead goes a long way. So these are some of the little incentives that we can now apply in terms of how we can get that relationship with the already existing creative economy. So these are strategies that are put in place, and also with partnerships, like you said, collaborations for me is the most important. Over the last 1 year, we've been able to get key collaborations with private sector, with other government agencies, with international organizations. Just to name a few, we have a collaboration with Goethe Institute, the Germans. We have an MOU signed with Google Arts and Culture, which is actually a big deal for us, because now it gives us a centerfold recognition globally, because everybody knows about Google. Google are interested in our content. They want to host the national collection on their page. So this is something that gives access to students, art researchers, art lovers, to come and see what the content is in the national collection.
With the innovative drive of the Director General, Mr. Sodangi, at the helm of affairs, the National Gallery of Art is no longer a quiet archive. It is a platform for power, pride, and progress.